All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everybody. You've probably read Bill Bachrach's bio when you registered for this training. But just as a quick refresher, here are a couple of highlights. Bill is a Hall of Fame keynote speaker who has delivered thousands of presentations for hundreds of thousands of financial advisors around the world. He is an effective workshop leader and by far the highest paid trainer and coach for financial advisors in the world. His latest resource to help advisors grow their businesses and better serve their clients is Advisor Roadmap. It's a virtual training platform that makes everything you need to learn about client acquisition, client service, leadership, and time management available 24/7 on your computer, your laptop, tablet, and mobile phone for an extremely affordable price. He's also an industry best-selling author and a philanthropist. Welcome, Bill.
Well, thank you very much for that nice introduction. I appreciate it, and welcome to you to join this online training today. You know, I appreciate that you have a lot of choices regarding how you invest your time, and I acknowledge you for being here today to improve and to grow because you want to make 2018 your best year ever. So let's get started and make that happen. First of all, I do recognize that you do business in a challenging environment. You've got competitive technology, volatile markets, political BS, you've got war and terrorism and government regulations, and all of these things impact your business. But it is a level playing field for all advisors. The bottom line is that everyone has to deal with the same things. So disruptive technologies affect all financial advisors, volatile markets. So everybody's working in essentially the same conditions, and you all have to just decide whether or not you're going to take control of your career or whether or not you're going to get distracted by the things that you can't control. So one simple thing that you can do to make 2018 your best year ever is to accept that there are some things out of your control and there are some things within your control. And your success will result from focusing on those things that you can control. So we're going to talk more about what you can control, and I can assure you that everything that we'll be talking about from here on out are definitely things that are within your control. So I believe that focusing on things that are outside of an advisor's control are one of the reasons why most financial advisors work too many hours for too little money for too many of the wrong clients. On a recent survey, we got this feedback from advisors. 90% told us they need or want to make more money. And what I found particularly interesting about that is we are in a booming economy. The stock market is cranking, the job numbers are really good, interest rates are low. I mean, we're in a booming economy. So you sort of have to think about, well, if you need to make more money when the economy is booming, what would be the circumstances around money if things turn? What if there's a market correction? What if the economy starts to go south? So we appreciate this data. We think of all the problems you might have right now. You'd sort of think money wouldn't be one of those, and yet 90% need or want to make more money. The other number that was interesting is 69% want to work fewer hours per week and take more real vacation. Now, when we did this survey, real vacation was defined as being fully unplugged from work. So you're away from work, you're not checking email, you're not calling the office, you're not having any client or prospect meetings, you're not reading financial services magazines or newspapers. You're really literally unplugged where you're doing nothing that makes you think about work, let alone do any work. We had one advisor who told us, he said, I've been in this business for 22 years, and by that standard, I've never had a real vacation. And then, of course, 92% said they'd like to have a smaller total number of clients who each pay them more money. So what about you? I'll bet that at least part of your motivation for being on today's webinar is because you'd like to see improvements in your work-life balance, your income, or the quality of your clientele, or maybe some combination of all three. One of the things that was mentioned during the introduction is that I am by far the highest paid trainer and coach in the financial services industry. And whenever we do a webinar like this, we get questions about that. So let's clear the air about what that means and how the lessons that we've learned from helping some of the superstar advisors in the business, how those lessons can help you make 2018 your best year ever. All right, so for many years, we've run a multi-year, very serious program called the Committed Advisor Mastermind Program. The tuition for that program is $5,000 on a 4-year contract. And, you know, your math is correct. I'm sure you're doing the math in your head. 4 years, $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year, or $240,000 total. Now, this is a very small group of what we call committed advisors, hence the name Committed Advisor Mastermind Program. We meet every quarter for 4 years for 6 full days, doing work that's very focused. Now, just to put your mind at ease, don't worry, we are not going to try and sell you a $250,000 training and coaching program today. It's not for everybody. It's not easy to get invited. The reason that I'm even telling you this is because you might be curious about what the outcome would have to be to motivate an advisor to make this big of an investment in their future, and more importantly, how do these lessons really apply to you? So why do top advisors pay us $240,000 a year? Well, this is the outcome that's worth that much money. First of all, their big outcome that they're committed to is to create their ideal life by building an ideal business exclusively with ideal clients. So that means no non-ideal clients. They intend to do this in 4 years or less. I can tell you it typically takes 3 to 5 years. And their goal is to have 50 ideal clients, a maximum of 50 with no non-ideal clients. The fee that they charge is a minimum of $36,000. So we have advisors at the low end at 36, and we have advisors at the high end of $100,000 per year, and then we have many who are in between that. So 50 ideal clients max, $36,000 minimum annual fee. They work 26 weeks a year, which means they take 26 weeks a year of real vacation where they are fully unplugged from work. The other emotional benefit that matters to them, and the reason they're willing to make an investment this big, is there's an enormous emotional gratification from being one of the best financial advisors in the world, as measured by value for the client, financial success, and quality of life. This creates, if you're doing the math, depending on the number of clients times the fee, recurring business revenue between $1.5 and $2 million a year. It generates a personal income of $900,000 to $1.5 million, and it creates a business valuation of $3 to $5 million, and it creates a business that's very easy to sell. So for the vast majority of financial advisors on the planet, that's all the money that they need to live their ideal lives. They're very happy with what's often referred to as a lifestyle business. They're not trying to build a national brand with multiple advisors and dozens or hundreds of with multiple offices rather, and dozens or hundreds of advisors. And when they're ready to pack it in, when they take the money that they've saved in their own investment portfolio and they combine that with the $3 to $5 million that they get from selling their business, that's all the money they need to be set for life financially. Now, the reason this matters to you is that you should know that what we're talking about here today during this online training and all the content that's available on our virtual training platform is proven in the trenches to help real advisors in all 50 states, many other countries, and even other languages to build a great business. So when you think about making 2018 your best year ever, think about having fewer total clients, more ideal clients, more revenue per client, and more time for living life outside of work. When I was preparing for this webinar today, I thought about all the many ways that you could make 2018 your best year ever. And I realized, well, we've got a 1-hour time frame. We want to leave some time for Q&A. there are literally dozens of things that you could do that could make a difference to 2018 being your best year ever. And then I reflected on all the years we've been training financial advisors. What are the most common things that really hold advisors back from tapping their full potential? So with that in mind, I narrowed today's content down to just 3 more things for you to consider that could have a huge impact on your success in 2018 and forever. Now, we've already covered the first one, focus on what you can control. So I'm talking about 3 more beyond that. So we're going to leave plenty of time for Q&A. If you want to go deeper into any of my suggestions, or if there's something else on your mind that you want to address that you think could make 2018 your best year ever, then you just use the questions area on the GoToWebinar control panel and submit that question. You can do that anytime you want. So the first key decision that successful advisors make in order to be one of the few who make a lot of money serving the right clients and still having a good life is, who do you do business with? So to make 2018 your best year ever, you have to move up market. So I'm going to give you some reasons for that, and then feel free to ask any questions that you have about that. But by the time I'm done with this particular section, which will probably take the next 10 or 12 minutes of our time, I hope that you are convinced that you should be working in a particular segment of the marketplace, and that you're inspired to work 100% and looking to acquire clients who fit in this reality. So your target client has to be people with money. It's the people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who have all the money. And as you can see from what's on the screen, these are real pictures of people who are of the age that you should be looking for. All right, so they are aging better than ever, which means they're going to have that money much longer than most people in our business seem to realize. One example of that is, this is a group of friends of mine, and they recently completed an ultra cycling event called the Race Across America. It starts in Oceanside, California. It spans 3,000 miles, climbs 175,000 vertical feet, crosses 12 states, and finishes in Annapolis, Maryland. So race from San Diego to Annapolis, Maryland on bicycles. So this is a picture of them. They had just set the 60-plus average age group record, which means that the average age of these 4 people is over 60. And I can tell you it's well over 60. Now, if you're curious, they raced their bikes across the United States around the clock, and they got from San Diego to Oceanside in 7 days. So the reason I like to use them as an example is because not everyone is gearing up for retirement by being on the golf course or playing shuffleboard. In fact, some of these people you see on the screen, they are financially independent and retired. Some of them are still working. All of them are very financially successful. Now, advances in addition to what we're talking about here, advances in genetics, robotics, nanotechnology, and synthetic biology are transforming the length and the quality of our lives. I was reading an article earlier today from a very legitimate health source that talked about within 10 years, we will be adding 30 to 40 years of quality life. And they're not talking about new people being born in 10 years will live 30 to 40 years longer. They're talking about within 10 years, people who are currently living, people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, can expect an additional 30 to 40 years of quality life. All right, so that's significant because no matter how old you are, you must be able to effectively work with people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Why? Because they have all the money. This is the age group who has always had all the money. Now, here are some really compelling stats about who has the money, and I've got a couple more slides about this. Remember, the idea here is for you to be really crystal clear, if you're working in the middle market, you're working in the wrong market. And it's crucial that you make a decision to make 2018 your best year ever to move up market. Now, I'm not talking about snobby, ultra-rich billionaires who might be difficult to work with. I'm talking about what I like to refer to as the mass millionaires. So here's some amazing data. Over 50% of Americans have less than $1,000 of savings. All right? So just from that number alone, you can eliminate 50% of the people in the United States if you're in the United States. And my research indicates that these numbers are very similar in all Western democracies. Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, very, very similar data. So right off the bat, half of the people are off your slate, because how much do you think people who don't have $1,000 saved are going to pay for financial planning, advice, and accountability? This number is staggering. 80% of Americans spend 110% of their income, right? So how much money do you think you're going to get paid by people who are already spending more than they earn? So that takes 80% of the households in America off the table as being decent prospects if you're serious about making 2018 your best year ever. So here's an interesting statistic. The top 10% have 85% of all of the financial wealth. The next 10% have 10% of the financial wealth. So I know you're doing the math with me, right? 95% of all the financial wealth is in the hands of the top 20%. The bottom 80% have 5% of the financial wealth. And which group do you think has the most debt? So if you're serious about making this next year your best year ever, you have to be able to engage people who have all the money, who are probably working with an existing advisor and institution, and you have to be able to inspire some of them to come to work with you. Now, when I talk about financial wealth, this is the money they use to pay for financial planning and advice, to save, to invest, and to buy financial and insurance products and services. I think you get this, but the way some financial advisors behave, sometimes I wonder if they do. Financial services is discretionary spending. All right? It's not survival spending. Financial services is discretionary spending, which means that you have to work with people who have discretionary money. So after they've paid for their needs and many of their wants, it's the money above that that they use to pay for financial planning, to save, to invest, to buy insurance, and to get their proverbial financial house in order. So here's some other statistics that I found very interesting that I think you'll find compelling as well. 76% of millionaires are self-made. Now, it's not really surprising, right? We know that most people who inherit money piss it away. We know most people who win the lottery piss the money away. So it's not surprising that 76% of millionaires are self-made. What you may not know is, when did they self-make their millions? So you can see on the bottom of the screen, it takes the typical self-made millionaire 32 years to get rich. Well, let's be even more specific. 1% became wealthy before the age of 40. All right? So if you're trying to build a business with people under 40, you're almost certainly focusing on people who don't have enough money. Then 3% became wealthy between the age of 40 and 45. 16% became wealthy between the age of 46 and 50. So only 20% of millionaires became millionaires before the age of 50. All right? So the large number of millionaires, it really starts gaining steam after 50. 28% became wealthy between 51 and 55. 31% between 56 and 60. 21% became wealthy after the age of 60. 80% of self-made millionaires made it after age 51, which is where you get the rationale for my position that you have to be working, no matter how old you are, you have to be working with people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. Now, I know some people have this, I think it's a ridiculous fantasy that, gee, we're going to work with younger people who'll someday inherit the money, right? Well, I think that's a really bad strategy, and here's some data that supports that. What do people who inherit the money do? Well, first of all only 1.6% of people inherit more than 100K. Right? You get that? Only 1.6% of people inherit more than 100K. 1.1% inherit $50,000 to $100,000, and 91.9% inherit nothing. So any sort of strategy of saying, well, we're going to work with the next generation, and then when they inherit all of this money, we will be their financial advisor. So let's take this even further. 70 to 90% of inheritors change advisors, right? And I thought about that a lot. I wonder why they do that. And the answer, I think, is that they don't want to be judged. So they know what they're going to do with the money. They're not going to continue to save and invest it. They know their parents, who are now dead, would be critical of that, and their parents' financial advisor is going to be critical of that. So what do they actually do with their inheritance? Well, not surprisingly, they pay off debt, fix up the house, and go on vacation. And then after they do that, they do something else nice for themselves. They buy a car, they buy a boat, they buy a vacation home, and if they haven't spent it all by then, what many of them do is now they do something for their kids. They pay off their kids' student loans, they buy their kids a car, they give them the down payment for a house, right? So it's not really too complicated. How much of the inheritance will be left to pay for financial planning and advice? And the answer to that question is not much. That $30 trillion of generational wealth transfer that you hear about, well, it's going to be recycled back into the economy in the form of spending. And where's it going to end up? That's right. It's going to end up back in the hands and the investment portfolios of the top 10%. The people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s who are more financially responsible. So you've heard the saying, the rich get richer. That's true, and that's why you want them to be your clients. Now, I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to reinforce this point. Just to be crystal clear, I'm not talking about elephant hunting and only working with the ultra high net worth. Your ideal clients are not snooty, high maintenance, difficult people. The sweet spot is people with $2 to $20 million of net worth who are paying $10,000 to $15,000 a year to their financial advisor. So I'm sure you've experienced this. You must have at least some clients who are worth millions of dollars. And you've probably noticed that people with millions of dollars are just as nice as people with hundreds of thousands of dollars. They just have more money. And there are millions of people like this, and plenty of them within a few miles of where you're probably sitting right now. Now, I get it. I really do. I understand that one of the cool things about this business is that we help people. We want to help people in need. And that's why we created the Foundation for Financial Planning. This foundation has given away many millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of hours of pro bono financial planning work. I believe in charity. Charity is good, but you have to separate your charity from your business. Charity is charity and business is business. You're building a financial services business. If you're going to make 2018 your best year ever, you have to stop doing charity financial planning work for very little money and really work on focusing on people who have the money. Now, I've been doing this work for a long time, and I can tell you without equivocation, the smartest and strongest financial advisors focus on the people who have the money now, not the people who might someday get some of the money. But I also appreciate that many financial advisors have limiting beliefs about working with, I'm not talking about the ultra high net worth, but I understand that just because people are older and wealthier than you, that does not mean you can't do business with them. Do not let the limiting beliefs that you're not good enough to do business with people who have more money than you have keep you from tapping your potential. You can be one of the advisors who works up market with multimillionaires. We believe in you. We know that's possible. So just a couple more points on this subject. If you have any questions about it, just lob those in through the GoToWebinar questions area on the control panel. We can't open up the lines because there are hundreds of people on this webinar today, and it just is a disaster if we open up the lines. So that's why we use that system. All right, so get your questions in. I will answer the questions in the order that they are submitted. So what we're really talking about here is the people who have the money are going to keep it longer than the experts predict. They're going to spend more of their money on life extension and their own lifestyle before they die. Therefore, the inheritors are going to inherit less, maybe nothing. The inheritors who do get money are going to spend, not save or invest, most or all of their inheritance. The money will go back into the economy, but not to buy financial planning services, investments, or insurance. And this is why do most advisors get stuck in the mediocre middle? And by definition, the mediocre middle is between $200,000 and $500,000 a year of business revenue. That's what we call the mediocre middle. That's sort of the largest number of advisors. That's why it's the middle are in that number, if you're just wondering what I'm referring to. If you're below 200, well, you're in the failure zone of the bell curve, and success starts something north of $500,000, depending on how you define that. And the way they get stuck in the mediocre middle is by working with too many small clients. I've seen it my entire career. I watched my peers do this when I was a financial advisor. I've watched most advisors, they get stuck. And essentially what happens is targeting people with less than $1 million is a dumb business model for an individual lifestyle financial advisory business. Because when you have too many of the wrong clients, you're trapped. Because I know what some of you are thinking. You're sitting there right now thinking, well, where do I find the time to go get the right clients when I have to spend so much time serving my existing wrong clients? Right? So you got to make a commitment for 2018. If you're serious about making 2018 your best year ever, you got to break out of your sort of rut of who you currently do business with and move up market. You know, maybe it's not up market all the way to the ultimate level you'll be at in 2019 or 2020 or 2021, but you've got to move in the right direction. It's crucial. The other question that I get that seems sort of, well, it strikes me as absurd, and maybe it will you when I share some of my thoughts with you, but the question I get is, Bill, isn't everyone trying to get the wealthier clients? Therefore, the middle market is less competitive, right? And the answer to that question is wrong. And even if that were true, most of the advisors who are working with the wealthier clients are not doing a very good job. So let's just talk about competition for a moment. Every market segment has serious competition. There is no easy path to being a successful financial advisor. No matter what segment you decide to work in, the competition is going to be stiff. All right? If you're going to be skilled enough to be able to steal clients from other advisors, you're going to have to be good. But let's focus on the competition in the middle market for a moment. All right? So the logos that are populating your screen right now, these are just a handful of the companies that are focused on the middle market. So honestly, I can't fathom how anyone could think the middle market is less competitive. These are the serious and formidable competitors, and they all focus on people with less than $1 million. And they're really, really good at acquiring and serving this segment. Let's just take one example. I know Rick Edelman pretty well. If you're a member of our virtual training platform, we interviewed Rick a couple of months ago for our monthly podcast, and that's archived within the virtual training platform. And we talked to Rick about, his success, and he shared with us some of his data. Rick Edelman is a marketing machine. He generates over 40,000 leads a year, which are then fed to 175 advisors who are excellent at conversion. Any idea what their minimum is? Well, at Edelman Financial, if you have $5,000 of investable assets, they will do financial planning and investment management for you for 1% of that $5,000. Their average client has $400,000. Right? And we could just sort of go around, and I could click on every single logo here, and we could talk about what they're doing to very aggressively and effectively serve the middle market. So no matter who your target market is, you have to have the skills to wrestle them away from whoever they currently do business with. And you can be sure that someone is working right now to steal your clients. Right? In fact, chances are, if somebody Googles your name, the first thing that's going to come up on that first page of the Google search engine is Edelman Financial. Below that, you might see Ameriprise, Charles Schwab, Ken Fisher. Right? They're very sophisticated. They will actually use people searching for you to redirect those people so they can talk to them. They're smart and they have huge budgets. So the bottom line is, you're going to have to steal clients from other advisors, or you're going to have to compete with other advisors and firms for clients. As long as that's what you have to do anyway, and you're going to get good at it, the payoff should be big. It's not any harder to get a client who pays you 10 or 20 grand than it is to get a client who pays you 3 grand. It's the same effort. The only difference is the outcome. The other thing I think you may find it helpful to know is that, I get it, because I was confronted with the same decision when I was a young financial advisor just getting started. And if you're anything like me, you don't come from money and you really have no background hanging out with wealthy people or even in the financial services industry. So for me, I grew up on Air Force bases, which meant I was moving around a lot. If you're curious, yes, that is really a picture of me and one of my favorite toys from childhood, the pedaled Air Force Jeep. So we moved around a lot, so I don't have roots anywhere. Right? I moved to San Diego when I was in my early 20s because I wanted to surf. All right? So I tended bar, waited tables, and surfed, and realized if I ever wanted to have a better life, I was going to have to do something where I could make some money. So I was attracted to the financial services industry because I could learn about money and I could also make money. So I can tell you, my family, we didn't have any money. I talked to my father about this as I was getting older and I was in this business, and he confessed to me that he didn't save any money until he was well into his 40s. And I wasn't surprised to hear that. So I had no ties in the community or a network to work. I had no experience with people with money. I also don't have a college degree. And when I was in college, I spent a few years in college, but I never finished. I can tell you economics, statistics, accounting, financial planning, none of those things were on my radar screen. It's not what I studied. All right, so I had to make the same choice that you have to make. All right, so the question is, do I work in the wrong market because it's comfortable? And that's actually what my manager told me to do. Work in your natural market. I remember laughing, going, my natural market? I'm a broke 26-year-old. What the hell am I going to do in my natural market? Right? Wrestle people for beer money so that maybe they'll open up an IRA? It's a ridiculous idea. Unless you're already a multimillionaire, working in your natural market is the worst advice you will ever get from anybody who supposedly is trying to help you be successful. Or what I could do is I could get skilled enough to work in the right market. So obviously I chose the latter, and the process I created for myself to find and acquire clients with money not only worked for me, but has proven to be transferable to any financial advisor who learns it and implements it, which is how I ended up spending the last 29 years training and coaching financial advisors to achieve their potential. So your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to get good enough to get the clients you really want instead of settling for anyone who can fog a mirror. You make 2018 your best year ever by making a conscious decision to move up market and do business with people who can pay you more money. All right, so hopefully you're convinced that you must move up market to succeed, maybe even to survive. See, it doesn't matter how good you are at client acquisition if you're applying your skills to build a dumb business and you end up with a bad outcome. All right, so I know some people who are quite skilled at marketing and prospecting and getting clients, and all they're doing is digging a deeper and deeper hole that will be harder and harder to get out of because they end up with too many of the wrong clients, making too little money, and working too many hours. So that's the first point that I have to make about making 2018 your best year ever. The second point is to do more for your clients. Now, I know that sounds simple, but one of the reasons why clients are so easy to steal from other advisors is because most advisors are underserving their clients. All right, so imagine for a moment that you have a repeatable process to schedule appointments with prospects and existing clients. So both spouses come to your office with all their financial documents. When they come in for that meeting, you have a repeatable process. So prospects hire you in the first meeting, pay you an upfront fee for planning, and commit to implementing their plan with you. And your existing clients want to upgrade their relationship to full financial planning. And then you use your powerful planning tools, give your advice to your clients, and they implement your advice, hopefully all of that advice, which generates more revenue per client in planning fees, advice fees, assets, insurance, annuities, estate planning, etc. And now imagine doing that over and over and over again until you have a thriving business of loyal clients who happily pay your annual fee, preferably 5 figures per client, however you prefer to collect it. Now, it sounds pretty simple, right? And yet most financial advisors don't do this. Now, a key element of this flow chart that's on your screen is that you have to be confident about the value you deliver. All right, if you're going to work with people who have more money and therefore are paying you more for planning and advice, then you have to be confident about the value you deliver. The place to start is with your financial planning software. Every advisor I know has financial planning software. Maybe you've got eMoney or Money Guide Pro or Naviplan or Voyant or Advicent or Advisor. I mean, there are a dozen of them out there that seem to be working well for advisors. Right? The problem is that most people own the software, but they aren't using it as effectively as they could or as completely as they could. So this reminds me of an experience that I had when I was in my 20s. My friend John bought a hot car, all right? And this isn't his actual car, but he bought a 1985 BMW 320i, all right? So it was this model of car, and John thought of himself as a pretty good driver until one day his friend Jack was in the passenger seat and said to John, "You know, John, you really don't know what this car can do you?" You see, Jack had been a professional race car driver, and he knew what was possible with a pro behind the wheel. So John pulled the car over and looked at his friend Jack and said, "Okay, hotshot, show me how it's done." And they traded seats. And John got a lesson from the passenger seat that he'll never forget. You see, in Jack's hand, that car performed at an incredible level. Jack was right. John had no idea what that car could do. And that's how it is for financial advisors. Everyone has good financial planning software, but most don't drive it very well. It's not about the car, it's all about the driver, which is why one advisor can be paid many thousands of dollars in upfront financial planning fees, and most advisors give away free planning trying to sell assets under management insurance and then do a fairly weak financial plan in the process. So the action item is really very simple. Schedule a one-on-one appointment with your financial planning software support person and say to that person, "Show me what this software can really do." And when you're watching the demo, when you're seeing everything that eMoney could actually do for your clients, make a commitment to elevate how you currently use your planning tools and use them at the maximum level. And ask yourself the question, if I were really delivering this much value, how would that help me attract higher net worth clients and serve them so that they're happy to pay me 5-figure fees? I can assure you this simple exercise will help you make 2018 one of your best years ever. Now, the last idea I have for you today, and then I'll answer your questions about these subjects. Number 3 is to become a superior, literally a brilliant communicator. All right, so it's not too complicated. Do top advisors have better technical skills? Do they have higher IQs? Do they have more designations? Do they have better technology? Do they have access to better products or better investment performance? Do they care more or provide better service or value? And the answer to the question is actually no. I mean, those are all table stakes. Everybody has designations. Everybody has technology. Everybody has investment performance. You all have access to all the same tools. In fact, chances are pretty good you know an advisor with no designations who's dumber than you, who's doing infinitely better in building a successful financial services business. So the distinction is to be a great communicator. In fact, when you watch that interview of Rick Edelman on that podcast and our virtual training platform, I didn't know this about Rick because I asked Rick the question, hey, Rick, you've been a top advisor, but we invited you to share some of your ideas with our members today because you're not only a great advisor, but you're a really good communicator. Just tell us about how you became a great communicator. And I was surprised to discover that Rick had no background in financial services when he entered the business. He studied in college journalism, broadcasting, and communication. And he just went on to describe how that was the foundation for him building an enormously successful nationwide financial services business. So he even said, you know, the financial planning element, that's pretty easy. All right, what most advisors are unable to do is they're unable to generate leads, turn leads into prospects and prospects into clients, and then to communicate with those clients so they implement and follow their advice. It is absolutely crucial. If you want to make 2018 one of your best years ever, you have to double down and make a commitment to improve your communication skills. So here are a few fundamentals about how you do that. So good communication is about knowing the right questions to ask and when to ask them. It's about listening with empathy. It's about when it is your turn to talk, to be able to articulate your ideas and give your advice with conviction so your clients and your prospective clients respond positively and implement. They hire you, they pay your fee. When you give them the advice of the planning, they implement the advice, right? So they allocate their assets the way you advise. They buy the insurance you tell them to buy. They get their estate planning in order. They do the things that need to be done that you're advising them to do based on using your powerful financial planning tools. Now, everybody has embedded in their subconscious an imaginary trust dial, and everything you say and do moves the needle on the trust dial in one direction or the other. So the question becomes, how do you know how effective you are at engaging people in a powerful way? How do you know that you're really a great communicator? Well, the best advisors we coach record their meetings with prospects and clients to learn the truth about how well they ask questions, listen with empathy, and articulate their ideas with conviction. I will tell you, yes, it is painful. Just like professional athletes watch video of practice and games to get better, you can benefit from the same fundamental approach, right? So in the old days, when I started doing this, we literally used a cassette recorder. Some of you will remember what an actual cassette tape looks like. Then we went to a micro cassette, then a digital recorder. Now, literally, your iPhone comes with a recording app built into it. All right? So I'll cover a couple of highlights about this, and then we'll open it up to questions. This is a picture of an actual professional sports team and what they call their film room. So when you're listening to the recordings of your prospect conversations and your client meetings, you ask yourself, what are two things I did well, and what's one thing I can improve? What are two things I did well that I can build on, and what's one thing I can do to improve so I'll be better the next time? And I can assure you, if you will embrace this very simple habit, you will be on the path of becoming a great communicator. Virtually every single advisor in our Committed Advisor Mastermind program and many others who've participated in other forms of training and coaching with us have developed this habit, and only to positive results. There is no downside. All right, so not only will you become a better advisor, but the fact that you are recording, it impresses people. So the very act of telling someone we're going to be recording our meeting today because we're really thorough. And before we give you any advice, we'll listen to this recording again to make sure that everything we do is the best it can be for you. So when people understand why you're recording, they are impressed that you would do that. So Mike recently started doing this, and the first time he listened to a recording of a client interview, he described it this way. He said, "This has been the most valuable professional development experience of my entire career." And you can see that, Mike's not like some 20-year-old who's just getting started. He's had a long career, and he's done a lot of professional development. Peggy is in a coaching level where she submits recordings to me as well. And this is how she described it. "It is horrifying to listen to myself and so valuable. I am a changed person for the better. The nervous laugh is a thing of the past. I now understand why I'm not where I wish to be with full clarity. And even better, I know exactly what I need to stop doing. It's the best coaching I've ever received, and I've had some great coaching along the way." Dave Turner describes it this way. He says, "I'm not sure how anyone can do this business without recording. How can anyone remember exactly what each person says to them? The recordings are so valuable to me in making sure I know what they said and don't have to rely just on my memory." In other words, what Dave is saying is having the recording helps him do a better job for his clients. Floris, who's from the Netherlands, said, "When you explain to prospects and clients that you're recording and why, they are obviously impressed. Nobody ever said no. Listening to my recordings has made me a better person and a better advisor." So what's interesting is Floris learns this content in English and then translates it into Dutch. Scott's an interesting case study. So Scott's from San Jose, California, and when he was 24 and brand new to the business, he began implementing our methods and recording all of his prospect and client meetings. And he did that to build what he refers to as phase one. He built a $400,000 fee-based AUM business with 145 clients. All right, and now he's going to the next level. Phase two is he's sold his old business, and now he's building a new business with 50 clients at a $36,000 flat fee. That's $1.8 million of annual recurring revenue. He started this project 20 months ago, and after 20 months, he has 15 ideal clients at a $36,000 annual flat fee. So his 15 clients are generating more revenue than his old business with 145 clients, and he's done that in 20 months. So he's 29 years old now, and he will have built his ideal business and created his ideal life before his 32nd birthday. 15 ideal clients down, 35 to go. Now, he's a good financial advisor, but more importantly, he's becoming a brilliant communicator. He consistently records his prospect and client meetings, listens to them to improve his skills, and submits some of those recordings to me for coaching. So whether you have someone to coach those recordings or not, I promise you, if you will just listen to them, you will hear things you can repeat and improve, and you will become a better advisor and a more successful advisor. All right, so we've delivered on the promise. Just a quick recap. 4 things. Focus on what you can control, move up market, drive your financial planning software better for the benefit of your clients and your business, and become a brilliant communicator. All right, one more thing that you can do if you want to make 2018 your best year ever. Let me also remind you that in a minute we'll be answering your questions. So while you submit your questions and they spool up in the queue, I'll just give you a little bit of background on our virtual training platform. If that idea appeals to you and you want us to help you make 2018 your best year ever, there are some simple things that we can do to help you do that. All right, so I'll bring you here. So this is what it looks like to be inside the virtual training platform. So the platform is organized around 4 key things that top advisors do to be successful: client acquisition, client service, leadership, and time priority and calendar management. The thing that you'll notice very quickly when you go into the platform is it's very script driven. All right, so these are the 7 critical conversations for building a 7-figure planning and advice business. When you go into the platform, there are training videos, there are demos, there are practice chapters so you can test for retention and build your skill before you take it into the real world. And then you'll notice when you click on any of these things, let me stop this video, it tends to play automatically, you can download scripts. All right, so the scripts are very detailed, exactly what to say and do to move existing clients to become ideal clients, to move people that you meet to schedule appointments with you. It's very, very script intensive around those 4 areas. The other thing that I mentioned is that every month there's a monthly podcast. So when you become a member, you get an interview, a video interview with an expert in communication skills, top advisors. I mentioned Rick Edelman's interview. Here it is, top advisor and communication expert Rick Edelman, The Truth About Your Future. So you not only get a new webinar every month when you're a member, you also get access to an archive of all the previous webinars. Another cool thing is that we have what we call the midweek motivation. So every Wednesday, we send you a short 3 to 5 minute video. So sometimes it's just purely motivational, inspirational, because we can all use a little inspiration now and then. Sometimes it's there's some content that will help you be more effective at growing your business. So you get a weekly 3 to 5 minute video to help you be more successful. But you don't just get the videos that are in the that come after you become a member. As soon as you become a member, let's see how many we have here. There are already 64 of these 3 to 5 minute videos, and you can just scroll through and you can look at the subject matter and decide which of these short videos. In other words, if you just have 5 minutes, there's something that you can do to learn something that will help you grow your business and make 2018 your best year ever. So I just wanted to give you a little preview of what the virtual training platform looks like. And let me go back here. So there's curriculum on the 7 critical conversations. The whole values-based financial planning curriculum is there. I've already talked about the midweek motivation and the podcasts. There's also a monthly lesson. So every month, you and the other members join me in a meeting room like this online. I share with you the lesson of the month. It's usually something that we've learned from helping the committed advisors, that $5,000 a month program. You get the benefit of what we learned from helping them, and for a lot less than $5,000 a month. And then I answer your questions. There's also a 24/7 FAQ, a really good dashboard for keeping track of your progress. And then I guess the only thing I would ask is, I know it's going to sound crazy that we would make this available for this low of a fee, a membership fee, and this is just an example of technology. So through artificial intelligence and incredible progress in technology, we can give you access to all this content. It's an annual membership. You can pay $100 a month for a year, or you can pay $900 a year in a single flat fee. All right, and you get access to all of that content and lots of live training with me. Now, one of the things that we've gotten a lot of people who said, so Bill, what's the incentive to do it right now? And so we've asked, so well, what would you like? What could we give you that would be a good incentive for you to jump right in? And so the most common response is, well, we'd like some time with you. It would be very valuable to have some one-on-one time with you to understand some more of the insights that would help us personally, like you help those $5,000 a month people. So we're experimenting with that. The challenge, of course, is that, my time is at a premium, and to be really candid with you, I just don't like wasting time with people who aren't super motivated. And so what we've done is we've created this thing called the Power Session with me. It's a recorded 75 to 90 minute online consultation, personally, one-on-one with me. So we'll do it through Skype or Zoom, something where we can see each other on a video screen, and I can bring up slides on the screen as well. Now remember, I said I don't want to do this with people who aren't super motivated. So in order to get the super bonus, you have to become a member within 30 minutes past the top of the hour. So looking at my clock, that's 34 minutes from now. All right. So You can jump off and sign up right now. I'll give you the URL for that, or it's probably already been emailed to you or sent to you through your chat box. All right, but I'm just not trying to be a jerk about this. I only want to do this with people who are really serious. I mean, this is an hour and a half of my time, which is at least $1,500. So just to give you a little insight of what's involved in the power session, we're going to have a conversation about what's important to you. We're going to explore your goals personally and professionally. We're going to measure your business and your personal life in 15 crucial, what I call success metrics. Where are you now and where do you want to be? So this is one of those perfect things to do at the end of 2017 so that you launch into 2018 with a lot of momentum. We're going to have a conversation about your obstacles. We're going to talk about your biggest and best opportunities. And on this recorded meeting, and you're going to get a copy of the recording and all the associated documents, we're going to talk about ideas to bridge the gap between where you are now, where you are now and where you want to be to make 2018 your best year ever. All right, so it's not really complicated. You know, if you're a newer advisor, then you want to accelerate your success and avoid the mistakes that cause most advisors to fail, and most of the rest have mediocre careers working too many hours for too little money for too many of the wrong clients. If you're an established advisor and you're in that mediocre middle now, 200 to 500K, working too many hours for too little money for too many of the wrong clients, you need a breakthrough. And, you know, I can't guarantee you'll have a breakthrough, but I can tell you that, you know, we take an hour and a half and really brainstorm your business and your future. It's pretty probable that there's a breakthrough in there. And if you'll take action on what we talk about, you'll have that breakthrough. And if you're a top advisor kicking butt and crushing it, well, especially you have untapped potential and could be working smarter, fewer hours with even better clients, enjoying a superior quality of life. I can tell you every advisor we work with in the Committed Advisor Mastermind program, they were already successful when we started working with them. And frankly, there aren't a lot of people out there that you can sit with who really have the depth of experience that I have over a long period of time, helping really good advisors take their business to the next level. So if that idea appeals to you, this is clearly a time-sensitive offer. You're also going to get a package of a tool we called the Financial Roadmap and a hard copy of the Values-Based Financial Planning book. All right, so pretty straightforward. There are two bonuses. The super bonus, which is everything we talked about, expires at 30 minutes past the top of the hour. If you miss that window, then you would still get the fast action bonuses of the book and the financial roadmaps, provided you get on board by the end of the day tomorrow. So I hope that's clear for you. This is the URL, youradvisorroadmap.com/super. You have to add that /super, otherwise you're not going to get to the landing page where you get access to the super bonus and the fast action bonuses. All right, so I hope that gives you some perspective about that, and if it's a fit for you, then jump on in. Love to have you as a member. All right, time for questions. I always build in some cushion time, so even if we go past the top of the hour, I've built in some cushion. This webinar is being recorded, so you will get a link to the recording. So even if you jump off and get yourself set up so you get the super bonus and then come back on, you will hear the rest of the questions answered, and then through the replay you can hear all of the questions answered. So if you have questions, submit them through the GoToWebinar control panel, and I'm happy to answer those for you. So the first question is from Ken. Ken says, Bill, what are some ways to find, contact, and book appointments in this market? All right, Ken, so let me, I'll answer your question, but I'll do it by showing you something in the training center. I mean, I can answer the question in 5 minutes, but if you say to yourself, boy, I really want to learn what Bill is talking about, it'll take you more than 5 minutes to master it. So what we have is this training curriculum called the 7 Critical Conversations and the Financial Roadmap Interview. And mastery of the first conversation is the answer to your question. All right? So your question is, how do you find, contact, and book appointments with people who are financially successful? All right? So I'll just click on this. It'll take a second to open up. All right. And then here is a demonstration mastering this conversation in person. All right, I'm going to pause this because it's going to start, it spools up and it starts right away. All right, so you meet people all the time. And the question is, what questions do you ask and how do you engage people without coming across like a schmucky financial advisor? So the exercise we'll facilitate you through is, where you live, where are the wealthy people? And I know within 5 minutes, if I said, okay, Ken, where do you live? You tell me the town where you live. Let's just say that you live where I live in San Diego. I say, so Ken, you live in San Diego. Then the question is, so where are the wealthy people in San Diego? And if you'll just sort of follow along with me and answer this for your town. So where do the wealthy people live in your town? And you know the answer to that question, right? So I live in San Diego. Even when I was a, broke 22-year-old who just wanted to surf and party, it was obvious to me, hey, the wealthy people live up on that hill in La Jolla. All right? Okay, so what do the wealthy people do? All right, well, it doesn't take long to find out that they belong to these organizations, they're involved in these charities, they go to these parties, they participate in these events. Okay, so it's easy to find out where they live, who they are, and what they do. So then the question is, well, can you show up there? And the answer to that question is, sure you can, right? You can show up there. So now that's where things get tricky. So even if you know exactly where to go to meet and interact with wealthy people, and we believe in having the skills of doing this face-to-face, it's the fastest way to move people from strangers to wanting to do business with you, you got to show up. So now that you're there, in this example, I happen to meet this high net worth individual on an airplane flying from San Diego to Hawaii. And we're sitting next to each other, and we struck up a conversation. And when he found out I trained financial advisors, he couldn't wait to tell me about his terrible experiences trying to find a financial advisor and how bad financial advisors suck. And I sort of laughed about that, and I said, well, would you like to sort of take this to another level? I've got a virtual training platform teaching financial advisors. They would really get benefit from us recreating the conversation we're having and then hearing you talk about why you have had such a hard time being a high net worth person, finding a financial advisor who can really take care of you and give financial advisors advice about how to get people like you as clients. His name is Alex, and he said, hey, that sounds like fun. So exactly the conversation you're talking about, we recreate here. I demonstrate how to do it face-to-face and how to do it on the phone. So for most financial advisors, the problem isn't where do you find high net worth people. It's if I were to take you and literally say, okay, Ken, come with me. All right, so dress accordingly. And tonight I'm going to put you in a room with 200 high net worth couples. I mean, every single person in the room, at least financially, meets your ideal client profile. And I would be willing to bet, because I've done this many times in live workshops and presentations, your eyes are going to get really big. Your palms are going to get a little moist. Your heart's going to beat a little faster. Your throat might even get a little bit dry because you're thinking, well, what do I say? What do I do? All right, so taking you back to the training center, and again, I'm answering your question, but I can't, you can't master this in, a few minutes on an online meeting. So you go to the script vault, and there's actually a worksheet called Kill the Elevator Speech and Master the Art of Interesting Conversation. So this is just a 3.5-page document, and it's got examples of some of the questions that you ask. So it is a training document, a script, if you will, that teaches what are some of the great opening questions. So when you meet somebody and hi, my name is Bill. Hi, I'm Joe. What do you say to Joe? Tell me something good that's happening in your world today. There are lots of things you can say that would be good conversation starters. And then what do you do to pivot the conversation so that you can have a second conversation? So going back into our system, that's critical conversation number 2, right? So you engage them in a good conversation, like I did with Alex, and then you have to put an offer on the table to do the next thing. And typically, critical conversation number 2 is a conversation that happens on the phone. All right. Sorry, let me pause that. All right, so how do you schedule that, and then what do you actually do on that phone conversation? And again, so I demonstrated with Alex. And then what do you do on that phone conversation? What do you do on that phone conversation so that Alex is inclined to bring his wife and all his financial documents to the meeting? So what is it that you offer people that's valuable to them? We call it free, relevant, and easy, so that when they meet you in a typically not a business environment, they want to talk to you again. All right, so those are some examples of what you do and how you do that. If you have any follow-ups to that, feel free to ask. So if you have any questions, submit your questions to the GoToWebinar control panel. At this point, I have answered the only question that has been submitted. So there are still a boatload of you on the webinar. So if you want to have your questions answered, you just have to submit them and we'll personalize that. The subject matter is, how do you make 2018 your best year ever? If you're interested in becoming a member and getting the super bonus, if you sort of do the math on that, you invest $900 for an annual membership and you immediately get a $1,500 payoff plus the annual membership. And don't know if I mentioned this, I know it said it on the slide itself, but obviously this is only for people who are really motivated, and it's only available when you click through, it's only available at the $900 one-year single payment level. With all due respect, I'm just not willing to give you 90 minutes of my time when you've only got $100 of skin in the game. Okay, so I'll just chill for a minute and I'll wait for the next question to come in. You just go to the GoToWebinar control panel and click the questions bar. It opens up, you type your question in. So any question that I can answer for you about making 2018 your best year ever. We talked about 4 ideas today. Focus on what you can control, move up market, do a better job with your financial planning software, and become a brilliant communicator. So Margie says, Bill, I just do long-term care planning. What advice can you provide? Well, my advice, Margie, is that you stop doing just long-term care planning. All right, so all of us who started in this business, we started doing something that I would say would be more product-centric. All right, so I started in the early 1980s, and I was trained as a stockbroker. All right, so that was my training. And I had to discover very quickly, if I was going to move up market, that I wasn't going to be able to be just a stockbroker. So what I did is I embraced the idea of doing more for my clients. And even though the tools were not as good as they are today, we did have financial planning software and tools. Now you look at some of the tools like MoneyGuide Pro and eMoney, and those tools are just enormously sophisticated and incredibly powerful, and most financial advisors are underutilizing them, right? So what I would suggest you do is you use your long-term care planning as your platform, and then you do what I recommended here, which is to schedule a one-on-one appointment. Now, if you don't already own the software, just call up eMoney and say, hey, I'd like to have a demo. In fact, you can go online and there's actually there's a recorded demo. So you can be taken through, I think it's about a 15-minute demo. But what I would do is I'd do a one-on-one with one of their salespeople, and I'd say, really show me what this thing can do. Sort of like when Jack said to John, hey, you don't have any idea what this car can do you? Say, all right, hey, I don't have any idea what this can do. Show me. And make a decision that you're going to elevate from being a long-term care. I mean, you say you do long-term care planning, but what I really read into that is you sell long-term care insurance, and you have a planning process to sell it. So I do not, if you're going to make 2018 your best year ever, it would not be my advice that you continue to be the proverbial one-trick pony. All right, so you might sell some long-term care insurance to financially successful people who could afford to buy bigger policies, but it's the same thing. The worst case scenario, if you really are going to ignore my advice about moving up market and being a full financial planner, is you can certainly embrace the advice about being a better communicator. So at the very least, become a superior or brilliant communicator. All right, so anybody can start recording their conversations with prospects, their conversations with clients, and I promise you that if you listen to your recordings, even if you choose to just sell one product, you will become a better question asker, a better listener, and you'll be more effective at articulating the benefits of buying the long-term care insurance. Yep. So Pat says, I bought it 4 months ago and I found it very valuable in building my practice. So yeah, Pat, I'm not sure if you're talking about you became a member of the virtual training platform or if you we were just talking about the financial planning software when your statement came through. So great. Either way, these are very, very powerful tools. The way we look at it is that financial planning is software is like the car, and we're like high performance driving school. All right. So if you want to be paid a fee for financial planning, if you want to generate more revenue from planning and advice and accountability and assets on the platform, then we can help you do that. All right. Let's see what else we got. All right. Margie says, yeah, by that I mean long-term care insurance. Okay, I got that, Margie, no problem. All right, so Pat is saying, oh, he said I became a member of your virtual training platform. Good, Pat. I'm just going to encourage you to continue to implement. All right, so we're always challenging the members to implement, so take another course, make sure you show up for the live monthly lessons and workshops, and just keep learning and implementing. So I appreciate your jumping in with your testimonial, and we encourage you to continue to implement. Yeah, so they asked the question, what are your thoughts on which is best, not only in 2018 for the next 5 years, but having clients come to my office only, not making house calls or working virtually? So clearly the most successful financial advisors are good at they have their meetings at their office. So there's a particular script that I think literally pays for the entire $900. All right, so this script, scheduling financial roadmap interviews with existing clients. All right, so now with a very subtle modification, there's also a script for scheduling financial roadmap interviews with existing clients. So the financial roadmap is one of the tools that you can learn on the Advisor Roadmap virtual training platform. And it's a very, very powerful way of engaging your existing clients and moving them to come to your office with their spouse and all their financial documents. So this is one of the big mistakes that most financial advisors make, is they make house calls, or they don't require that both spouses come to their office with all their financial documents. So the question is, well, how do you do that? And so this is a script that is 21 pages, and it addresses all of those issues. So first of all, how do you put the offer on the table? It exactly is, word for word, exactly what you say. It's a training manual with the script embedded into it. So from the moment that they say hello, how exactly do you put the offer on the table to invite them to come to your office, to bring their spouse and all their financial documents? And how do you respond to, you can see here in the table of contents. So what do? You've got clients who maybe have worked with you for years. And what do you do if they think of you, well, you're the person I buy long-term care from, and I never come to your office, you always come to my house. So how do you shift that? All right, so that's the power of this particular script. All right, so what if they don't want to come to your office? How do you convey to them that the meeting is more effective at your office? What if they have no history bringing their documents? How do you convey to them that it's in their best interest to bring the documents? What if one spouse or partner or the other tends to be the primary person who takes care of the finances in the family? How do you communicate both to the spouse who you are used to working with, and the spouse who generally skips these meetings? How do you convey to both of them that they should come to this meeting together because it's the kind of meeting that they should both be at? And then, of course, getting back to this visual, then what do you actually do at that meeting? All right, so let me get back to the right visual for you. All right, so what do you actually do, at this particular meeting, when they're there, so that they hire you? Then what do you do after you're hired? And then, of course, you repeat that cycle. All right, so my thoughts on it are really not too complicated, Pat, is you schedule appointments with existing clients and prospects, and they come to your office with their spouse and all their documents. That's what the best advisors do. Top advisors don't make house calls. Salespeople make house calls. So they go to their doctor, they go to their banker, they go to their lawyer, they go to their accountant. If you want to be treated like a professional, you have to act like a professional. Of course, you have to have something to do when they get there that makes them go, hey, this was really worth it. And yes, in the past, we haven't paid for financial planning, but now we not only want to do it, but we want to pay you for it. And then, of course, this is where it comes in, using your tools. All right, so I would not recommend working virtually. And one of the reasons I would not recommend working virtually is the big guys are really mastering that. I mean, Vanguard, for one example, for 35 basis points, they will do comprehensive financial planning with a CFP, and they will do it all virtually. You don't want to compete with Vanguard, and you don't want to work for 35 basis points. So the more you look like a Vanguard or an Edelman or a Ramsey or a Fidelity, the more you look like them, the more you're going to have to charge what they charge. And what they're doing is they're using big technology and big scale to charge a small amount of money to the mass market. I mean, you don't want to work for 35 basis points. So if you look like an organization that works for 35 basis points, you're going to have to charge 35 basis points. And that assumes that you are as effective marketing and acquiring clients virtually as Vanguard is. All right, they have over $4 trillion of assets under management. Right? You don't want to compete with them, and you don't want to compete with their budget. You might want to outsource money management to them, but you don't want to compete with their personal advisor services platform, which is a virtual CFP using those tools. You want to be the face-to-face person. So remember, your target market are people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s who already have a $2 to $20 million net worth. All right? So hopefully that answers that. Yeah, Sean, automated referral generation is, for the most part, bullshit. All right, so, I mean, I know that that's not what you want to hear, but let's go back to who your target market is. So, and I've pressed the people who promote this. I've pressed them. I've said, it's okay. So, how many people who look like this? All right, so how many high net worth individuals who have $2 to $20 million are you getting through your automated lead generation system? And the answer is not many. All right. And again, who are you competing with? You're competing with Edelman and Ramsey and Ken Fisher, and they're not just doing automated lead generation. I did this today. I Googled, I needed a picture of Dave Turner. Remember I showed you that success story of Dave Turner? So I Googled Dave Turner financial advisor images. Actually, I first Googled, look at what comes up. I Googled Dave Turner financial advisor images, and what comes up but an ad for Edelman Financial. All right, so what if you're embracing an automated lead generation system and you even get people to search for you? All right, your competitors come up. All right, so I know a lot of people are talking about LinkedIn today. So we did this recently at a workshop, and we clicked on a person's name and person's name on LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn, what came up was this advisor's name. His first name is Darren, and it came up and it said, Darren so-and-so, LinkedIn profile, and then it said, get free proposals from Darren and 5 other advisors. All right, so Darren looked at that and he goes, I don't even do free proposals. What the hell are they talking about, free proposals? And so let me get this straight. Somebody is going to LinkedIn looking for me, and then LinkedIn is directing them to other advisors? Yep. So they're charging the other advisors, and they're using the LinkedIn advisors as bait to sell pay-per-click advertising to other financial advisors. So I think, the bottom line is, and I'll sort of take you back to this other idea. I'm going to bring up this, let me go to this other slide here for just a second. I often do a training called Mastering Client Acquisition. So I'll bring up a quick slide deck for you. Just if you're keeping track of the time, you've got about 9 minutes to become a member and get the super bonus. All right, so I'll take you back to that response I made to the earlier question. All right, so your prospects are strangers. And so what you can do is you can spend a ridiculous amount of money trying to create an automated lead generation system and probably get very few millionaires. Or you can go to where, in the movie Top Gun, they call it a target-rich environment. So my question is, if you can put yourself in a room with dozens or hundreds of people who meet your ideal client profile, or you can fish for them through the internet, why would you fish for them through the internet when you can put yourself in a room where there are dozens or hundreds of these people? And the answer to that question is because I'm scared. All right? I don't know what to say to them. And my question to you is, if you don't know what to say to them face to face, what are you going to say to them through the internet that gets them to call you? All right? So you need to have the same skill, right? So our forte, with all due respect to all this sort of internet marketing, bullshit, is that it's easier to learn how to go get the clients you actually want. All right, so I'll take you back here. Then the question is, where do you learn how to do that? All right, so for the whopping sum of $900 for a year, I can tell you it's right here in these 7 training classes. It's called Client Acquisition, the 7 Critical Conversations. So I know some people, they become members of our virtual training platform because they're impressed with the volume. They look at it and they go, man, 64 short video lessons, 13 podcasts, 100 plus hours of video training and practice chapters, and who knows how many hundreds of pages of scripts, and they sort of get excited about the volume, right? Well, I can tell you there's another way to look at it, and that's to look at it and say, if I would just live here, if I would download the scripts, watch the videos, participate in the practice chapters and demos, and really learn how to talk to wealthy people, how to schedule appointments on the phone with wealthy people, how to conduct interviews with wealthy people where they will fire their existing advisor and hire me instead. And that's what's on these 7 tiles, right? It's already in the platform, right? So that's what's sort of amazing, is that through technology and scale, if you talked to me a year and a half ago, the entry-level program to do business with our company was $10,000. We had nothing below $10,000, right? But because of technology and scale, we can put this content into this virtual training platform, and for $900, you can get access to all this content. And if you get your ass in gear and get yourself signed up in the next 5 minutes, you'll also get a 90-minute one-on-one power session with me. All right? So I hope you found this, we've done 85 minutes today, valuable as a group, but imagine if we could sit down one-on-one. All right? So I hope that answers your question. Maybe that's not the answer you want to hear. I think most advisors say, yeah, since I'm so scared of talking to wealthy people, gee, how do I get them to just call me? Well, good luck with that. I don't know anybody who has any type of a system where they're getting people who have a $2 to $20 million net worth through the internet, through some kind of e-commerce strategy, to get any kind of statistically relevant, significant number of wealthy people to call them. All right, so an internet marketing strategy, that's how you get people in the middle market. It's a mass marketing strategy, so you're going to end up with mass market people. All right, so if you're serious about making 2018 your best year ever, I'll take you back to my first piece of advice around that. All right, to make 2018 your best year ever and to have a great rest of your career, move up market. And I don't know how old you are, but our oldest student is 81 years old. All right, so our youngest student is, gosh, I couldn't tell you, it's early 20s. All right, so we have We have a senior advisor in San Antonio who's brought his two sons into the business, and he's saying, hey, this is how you guys ought to build your business. All right, so I built my business. I sort of built a dumb business. I have too many of the wrong clients, working too many hours for too little money. You guys, I wish I knew then what I know now. You should build your business this way from the very beginning. All right, so you've got to move up market. I'll say it again, do not compete with these people. Do not compete with Edelman. Do not compete with Ken Fisher. I mean, I haven't even talked about State Farm. I mean, State Farm has 17,000 agents. All right, so they've got this ad campaign, if you've seen it, calling Here to Help Life Go Right. Insurance finances. They have 17,000 agents. All right, 29 million households. 25% of the households in America own a State Farm product with a State Farm agent. It's probably car insurance. Car insurance is likely to go away, right? The autonomous car, ride-sharing services, the car insurance market is under attack. 17,000 agents. You think these agents are going to go away quietly? Right? There's no way. All right, so they are being trained to do, the State Farm has over 100 financial services and insurance products, and they're training those 17,000 agents to do a lot more business with their existing customers. How long do you think it is before they say, hey, look, you guys need to be financial planners. You're already working in the mass market, right? We didn't even talk about what happens if Google or Apple or Amazon start selling financial services. Imagine that Amazon creates a sophisticated financial planning user interface that eliminates the need for any human interaction. All right? How much would they sell that for? What if they start giving that away for free as a member benefit of Prime? So you have got to move up market because you do not want to compete with the people who are doing business in the middle market. Oh, sorry, Brian is wanting to know where to go. Gee, I'm sorry, Brian. I thought that was clear. Look in your chat box. I think we sent you a link of where to go, but I can tell you, let me be more specific. So this URL is, let me bring it up on this screen. It's youradvisorroadmap.com/super. All right, and you want to use the super because that's the URL with the bonuses. So youradvisorroadmap.com/super. All right, and that's where you can enroll. And so not to be, Mr. Countdown here, but there's about 1 minute in order to be eligible for the super bonus. When the super bonus expires at 1/2 past the top of the hour, you will still be eligible to get the free package of financial roadmaps and a hard copy of the values-based financial planning book, and that bonus is active until midnight tomorrow, midnight California time. All right, any more questions? Just want to make sure I answer all your questions. Okay, Brian, if you're in the car listening, just you can do it on your phone, but you can also call the office. So most people don't want to call, they just want to do it online. So the number is 619-255-4888. That's 619-255-4888, and ask for Michael, and he'll take care of you. All right, well, that looks like all the questions. I'll do a quick last call for questions. There's still a huge number of you who are listening, but I guess you want to hear the questions other people ask. But if you have a question about being a brilliant communicator, focusing on what you can control, moving up market, and elevating your skill with your financial planning tools, or anything that you think might help you make 2018 your best year ever, I've blocked enough time to answer your questions, and I'm happy to do it. Okay. Okay, well, that looks like all the questions that are going to come in today. It was our pleasure to be with you. We feel confident that we delivered on our promise and gave you good advice on how you can make 2018 your best year ever. Of course, the key to success isn't getting the advice and input, it's the action you actually take. So there's no question your best investment is your untapped potential. And so you can seize your untapped potential by taking action on the ideas that we've shared with you today. So I see a lot of thank yous and great points and great jobs coming through, but no new questions. So I'm going to take that as a sign that it is time for us to end this webinar, and it is time for you to go into action. Implementing, planning is the perfect time to make 2018, to set yourself up rather, to make 2018 your best year ever. Make it a great day.